Hello, welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today is part 2 of the Absolutely No Sew Junk Journal, and today we will be adding a cover and some Absolutely No Sew pockets. I was so happy that you all enjoyed the first part, so it was very fun to create the second part. So let me show you what supplies you'll need. You will need the journal that you made, your no-sew journal, a hot glue gun, some thick trim or cardstock. I am using Liquitex sealer for the cover, a brush, a glue stick, and some images to put on your cover. Isn't this Care Bear calendar adorable? I also have this old Rand McNally book. It's one of those larger books, so the illustrations are larger, which I really like for this particular project. If you don't want to use a book or an old calendar, you can print images, but I do recommend making sure that they are laser print images so that you can use the sealer and that your cover will be protected. If you use inkjet, they will possibly smear or become discolored, and you don't want that. So I love old calendars. I've had this one. This one's from 2023. I never used it actually. And so I considered using Care Bear since we had used some Care Bear pages, but I didn't think the colors were exactly right. So I went ahead and hopped over to this Rand McNally book. This is a big book. These books do not last very long at Friends of the Library bookstores or thrift stores. There's damage, there's writing. Many times these books cannot be recycled. The covers cannot be recycled. And if the pages are to even be possibly recycled, they need to be completely removed from any adhesives. And even then, there's still question whether or not they can be recycled. So the best thing you can do to make sure that these don't end up in landfills is to keep them and read them and use them. Or if you are not going to use them for that purpose, let's upcycle them. So I have been working with this particular book for a while. I use images. It was on one of my first composition book journals. And so I love this one. It's actually Jack and Jill. This is Jill. And I just think she's so cute with the little flowers. And I'm just going to start by cutting her out. I'm not doing any sort of fussy cutting here. I'm really just sort of cutting around the image. It's so pretty. There's all the pretty colors around it, so I don't really see a need to fussy cut. And really, when you fussy cut, it also leaves a lot of like smaller edges that can possibly lift even if you seal it. So if you just keep it in a larger piece, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Sometimes I keep those words, and as you can see in my first journal, I actually glued the words right on the top of my inside covers. So I don't even throw those away. I use everything. So I just am going to trim it down a tiny bit more. You can just trim it down to however you would like it trimmed down to. But yeah, it's really simple. The next thing I'm going to do is actually use a little bit of my Tim Holtz Distress ink around the edges. I don't think I mentioned the Tim Holtz Distress ink with the original things you would need for this tutorial, so I apologize. And it's not entirely necessary, but I do think that using a tiny bit of distress ink just around the perimeter of your image does make it pop just a little bit. I'm not really looking to get a very vintage look. I'm actually just looking to outline my illustration. And so you'll see, you'll probably hardly be able to even tell that I'm using that distress ink, which is why this step is entirely skippable if you don't have distress ink. I just do think it adds a nice perimeter around the image. So anyway, take it or leave it, but I am going to do it to my illustration, so I wanted to be sure that you saw. And then the next thing we are going to do is add our illustration to our cover. Also, let me know in the comments below if you followed the tutorial. I did see that a few of you did. I've been trying to get to all of your very kind comments. And so let me know if you did. I would just love to hear it. I'm so happy you all seem to like it. I am going to put my like writing board under there so that my cover is a little more sturdy. I made those writing boards on a live over on Patreon. If you would like to join our little community, all of that information is linked down below. We do have a lot of fun there, and I go live 3 times a week. So it's a tight-knit little group, and it's just been the funnest place to make friends and grow. So as you can see, I am just using my glue stick. I am using a Tombow Mono glue stick. I really do like this glue stick. It's kind of grown on me. I get mine at Michael's. They come in a pack of 2 for like $5 and you can use your coupon. So I am putting as much of a thin layer as evenly dispersed on this illustration as possible. I don't want any clumps or anything like that. I do not recommend using wet glue for this. And I do recommend putting a piece of parchment paper underneath so you can get all the way around the entire perimeter, all the edges and little nooks and crannies of your illustration. And once it is completely covered in that glue stick, you just need to put it right on your cover. Grab your bone folder and make sure that it is completely adhered to the page. And the key to this step, my friends, is to make sure that there is a very thin, even layer of glue stick, a good quality glue stick on that entire image. And then you want this to dry before you do anything else. I know it's tempting to just move on to the next step, but it is very important that your image and that glue is completely dried. I'm just going to trim that little bit off the edge with my scissors. I do recommend a glue stick here. If you use liquid glue, it is possible that you can get wrinkling, and I know that none of us want that on our covers, although it's not really a big deal. These are junk journals, it's okay. But another tip here is to put some heavy books on it even while it's drying. That's a good idea, and make sure you have something nice and flat underneath. So now what we are going to do, I've let my glue stick dry for about 30 minutes to an hour. Like I said, completely dry. That's the key here. We are going to get that Liquitex sealer. We are going to put that parchment paper underneath to protect our journal. And then we are going to use a little bit of the sealer. We don't need a ton. You don't need to shellac it on in a very thick layer. A little bit of this Liquitex goes a long way. And you're just going to put a very thin layer over the entire cover of your journal. I like to work pretty quick because I don't want to get bubbles or lifting in my image. That does tend to happen if you move a little bit slow. So make sure you get that thin layer on relatively quick. And then I let it dry for a little bit just till it's not sticky to the touch. And then once that happens, I actually add another layer of parchment paper over the top. And I kind of make sure that the image is nice and flat on the page. You'll be able to see what I mean in a moment here once it dries for, I mean, literally about 3 to 5 minutes. So now that I've let it dry for a few minutes, I use that same piece of parchment paper. And as you can see, I just sort of go over the image with my hands. Not really, really hard, just enough that I am making sure that that image is nice and flat. And if there are any bubbles or wrinkles, this will sort of help make that be less noticeable or even go away entirely. Because if you use too much of that sealer, it's entirely possible that your image will lift a little bit. Another tip is to add heavy books to the top and let it dry for, I would say, even an hour. This is my results. As you can see, it looks really lovely right on that cover, nice and flat, and it's sealed, and I'm really happy with how it looks. And even if you do have a little bit of wrinkles or bubbles, don't worry. I do find after about 24 hours, it settles down and you can't even notice. So don't fret too much if you feel like, oh my gosh, mine is really wrinkly or bubbly. Don't worry about that. It will settle down a little bit. The next thing we are going to do is add some completely no-sew pockets. I love no-sew pockets. I'm going to use this extra thick trim. Mine is vintage. I got it at an estate sale or a thrift store. I don't even remember anymore. And I'm going to glue it right in here. I'm going to use hot glue. They do sell trim this thick at places like Joann's. You can buy it by the yard. You could even just use cardstock for this step. You can use a scrap of fabric. But I would just recommend getting something about 4 inches or more to make it your pocket. We're going to start with our hot glue. Be very careful with hot glue. Obviously, don't let children do this step. And you're going to put a thin line of that hot glue down close to the spine, but not touching. And you don't want it to get so close that it's going to cause your journal to close funny. So be aware of that. Keep it right as close as you can without making it touch too much of the actual pages in the journal. And you do want to make sure it goes all the way up to the top of your fabric or cardstock and all the way to the bottom. And the next thing you're going to do is repeat that same step, but across the bottom of your journal. I do this in 3 steps. I don't just put all of the glue on at once. I like to make sure I'm taking my time so that my trim pocket is laying flat and nicely and everything lines up great. you know, it's just that little bit of attention to detail that will add a lot of character to your journal. My other tip when using hot glue is to always have a lint roller handy. It picks up all the strings, and sometimes when that like cold glue is sticking to your fingers, you can just kind of put it on that lint roller. I'm telling you, I always, when I have my hot glue gun out, I have my lint roller out. I keep them together at all times. Now I'm going to add that third line of hot glue. I'm going to make sure I pull my fabric, not super tight, but enough that the pocket will lay flat. And you will have excess that we will easily trim off with our scissors. I am going to repeat this process on the back cover. You don't have to have two pockets. If you want just one pocket, you can choose either the front or the back. I think it's helpful to have two. I like adding, you know, stickers and having things on hand with my journal, but it's not entirely necessary. I also think it looks really cute, especially if you have cute prints. And while you watch me create the back cover, if you would be so kind to hit that like button, that would mean so much to me. It really helps me grow my channel, and I would appreciate it so much. If you are new, be sure to introduce yourself so that we can connect. It's a great way to build community and to make new friends. And I don't know if you noticed, but I am using my new stapler. I am not using it as a stapler. I'm actually using it just as a weight to hold down the journal so that I have a flat surface to create this pocket. But I have a brand new solid gold tone swing line stapler. Missy Trotter 7535 here on YouTube was telling me about her vintage swing line, and I was so excited to get one. Now mine is not vintage, mine is new, but it is by the Swing Line Company. They are still creating staplers, and I've used it a few times. It's marvelous. It's very heavy, as you can see. I'm using it here. It's very high quality, and I'm very excited that I purchased it. So anyway, thank you to all of you for your recommendations, and thank you to Missy Trotter 7535. This has been such a fun tutorial. I do like to let the trim peek out just a little bit on the bottom there. That's what I was showing you. I just think it looks really cute. Anyway, it has been so fun making this completely no-sew journal with y'all. I've been having a really good time creating it. It is super cute in person. Like, I wish you could all hold it. It has such a nice weight, and it's just so lovely in person. It's all bright and cheery. It's perfect for spring. So I am so excited that some of you have told me that you've been starting this type of journal, and you're excited to see me also make a sewn journal tutorial, which I'm very excited to do, and I will be doing very soon, maybe in mini form. I haven't decided yet. So once again, just down below, be sure to let me know if you have created this style journal, or if you're using these pockets, or if you're going to make a cover like this. It's just very motivating to continue. I love hearing it. I love reading it. And also I love connecting with you. So here's the pockets. I'm so happy with how they turned out. I'm just going to add this card so you can see how cute it looks in there. That's from my friend Jen. Thank you, Jen. And these strawberry stickers that I use in my planner, they're really cute. I got them on Amazon, and this is just a little list page that I thought would look sweet and cheery back there. I'm going to give you a quick flip through of the inside of this completed journal. Now you would be free to add calendar pages, lists, or you could just journal creatively. You can just use it as a writing journal. You could add photographs. You could really do anything you want. So I hope you all love it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was inspirational. I also hope that it was practical and something that was easy to follow and something you are looking forward to create. So I will catch you in my next video. I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye.